Hi guys.
Hey, welcome to Startup Mindsets podcast. We got Butch Meily on the show today, and it's a great honor to have Butch. I mean, I just learned about Butch in a couple of articles and all that, and he has a really good book that I'm sure you guys are gonna like. It's called From Manila to Wall Street, and it's right there as you can tell.
That's my first copy. That's the first time I've seen it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Did you how did you feel when you know
Well, excited and it surprised me. It's thinner than I expected, which is actually good, so people can read it quickly because no everybody's attention span is so short these days.
Yeah. I wrote a book with Earl, right? Like,
I remember I was with Earl in Manila. He was promoting it, but he had a borrowed copy, man, from
really?
the Microsoft libraries. I said, "Why are
Oh,
you doing a book tour with a borrowed copy?"
yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's the cheap Filipino jeans.
No, no, it's Penguin couldn't get books through the customs. That's one of the problems over there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. What else was I gonna ask you? You mentioned there's a new pope. Is a pope Filipino?
Well, we'll find out. They just put the white smoke out. I actually know the candidate Cardinal Tagle. If it's him, I don't know if it's him, but he's a co-chair of the foundation, one of the foundations that I head, the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, which is focused on private sector participation before, during, and after a calamity.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you knew about what's it called? That typhoon? Was it Odette? Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I think it's in English, it's or internationally, it's known as Rye. I think so. And then that happened I can't forget it. Dan. I mean, it happened in December of a few years ago, 3 years ago or so, and I had to cancel my Christmas break with my son in San Francisco to stay and work on the typhoon.
Wow, man. Yeah, I'm in Daly City, which is next to San Francisco. I grew up in San Francisco though,
Oh, oh, good
but
for you. You're lucky to be there. A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
very foggy though.
exactly. Not the Manila sun.
Yeah. But it's nice.
So you're in Manhattan right now, or you're?
Yeah, I just arrived last night. Got in from LA and Vegas. Then I'm doing three book signings here, and then one in Washington D.C. and then one in Philadelphia.
Oh, cool. So the book is now. You just said it just went live, right? So it's just selling.
Yeah, it's called From Manila to Wall Street: An Immigrant's Journey with America's First Black Tycoon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's available on. Just came out May 6th on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble, and then it's available in most bookstores. But I think you gotta ask for it. You gotta order it.
Yeah. I noticed too. I'm a little entrepreneurial, so I went to Golden Gate Park and there was a bookstore there, and I said, "How do I get my book on your shelves?" And they just said, "Okay, we'll buy it."
Yeah. Well, what did they say? Did they say that you have to pay for the book and then for any returns?
I think they said that well, they're just gonna order it from like
Yeah, they'll
somewhere.
order it from there from a place called Ingram's.
Oh, Ingram's, yeah, Ingram's, something like that. And then,
They didn't want to take chances. It's not like it used to be, man.
man, you got so much rich history. I know that one of my friends who's an attorney in also New York, but also in Manila. His name's Cyrus. Shout out to Cyrus Monteza. And also, what I was gonna say was, he told me about Loida. Like I was eating dinner with him, and he was telling me
Right,
about Loida,
right.
and I said, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that." And then and then I looked into what you were doing, and oh, I guess you work for Loida's ex, widow,
Yeah,
right?
her late husband, Reginald Lewis. He's the main topic of my book. I mean, main character. Let's put it that way. And then
Oh,
I do talk about how Lloyd took over after him.
wow. I guess Butch. I guess it's kind of informal, but I think those are the best conversations, right? Like I hate when the
Right.
conversations are always strict and to the script. Like I know you have a journalism degree, right, from the Gators or something.
Yeah, go Gators. But yeah, I have journalism and communications, a master's from them. I went there for a master's degree, and then I never looked back. And I came back to teach for 6 months on a program they have, and my family lived there for in Gainesville for a year.
Gainesville. That's not near Miami, right?
No, man, that's in you know they're in the same state, but they're at the opposite ends.
I mean,
Miami's all
yeah,
the way down south. Gainesville is not too far from the Georgia border, and the third part, Florida's made up of different states, and the third part of the state is the Panhandle, which is a very different area from Miami and
yeah.
Gainesville.
Do you have a preference for Miami to up in that Panhandle area?
Yeah,
I've been,
that's another book. That's another book.
I know I got the shirt from Brickell, Miami. So
Oh, okay. Miami's fine. I mean, it's
for the single gentleman, it's a cool place. But
oh, okay. I'll note that since part of my book details my divorce.
oh man,
so
I'm sorry to hear that.
so I'm 71 and single. So please let Filipino Americans know, or anybody that's breathing.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, with the older you get,
Hopefully I'll get a girl one day.
well, that's why you have a podcast.
That's exactly why. um, what else is called? No, Filipino women are really good, but I mean, it's just can't talk about that today.
Yeah, yeah. That's a different deal.
So the Pope, right? You said that that's going to be announced soon.
Yeah, the white smoke's up, and everybody's waiting. And but as I said, there are at least two candidates from the Philippines, believe it or not. And one of them, I said, is the co-chair of Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. His name is
Hmm.
Cardinal Luis Tagle. And so if he wins, that'll be great. I'll be celebrating. And if actually, whoever wins, that's fine. But it'd be nice for the Filipino community to have a pope. I think they deserve it. We deserve it because they're, as you know, they're people are pretty religious.
I
So,
know.
so
I know.
I
That's
think we deserve one.
you're right. You're right.
Be good for your podcast too.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, but you got a very interesting career, and I don't think we could cover it all in one conversation. So maybe we got to do another one too. But so your book details how Manila to Wall Street. So you grew up in Manila, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I left there in 1977 when it was martial law, and I went to Gainesville. First time in the States, only my second time abroad, and which is a big deal to go abroad back then. And I just fell in love with America, to be honest. I mean, I got to live here. I didn't go back for like 9 years, and I bounced around after I got my degree. I went to Chicago. I handled PR for a Mexican group of restaurants and nightclubs there. And then I went to work for Bank of America in San Francisco, writing brochures for them. Then I went to New York, which is the mecca for PR people. At least it was back then. And
Hmm.
that's where I got my big break. That's where I got a phone call from a woman who I didn't know, who said that she got my name from a Wall Street Journal reporter and said her husband had a PR problem. Please call him, and not to worry because he would be a big client someday. And that turned out to be Lloyd Lewis, and the client was Reginald Lewis. I didn't know he was black until I met him in the lobby of the New York Times. Even though I talked to him on the phone, that's there weren't too many African American businessmen back then, and I set up an interview for him with the New York Times reporter after he yelled at him. Got his name from the phone book, which is what you could do that back then. Woke him
I
up at
see.
6 a.m. and yelled at him about a story he didn't like, so I had to fix it. Got him a second story, and then that's how it all started. My career took off after that because he mounted a $1 billion leveraged buyout of a big company called Beatrice International, 64 companies in 31 countries. But the mother company of Beatrice, based in Chicago, had Tropicana orange juice, Samsonite luggage, Orville Redenbacher, all those brands.
Yeah, man. I went to Houston and we went to I guess that's Minute Maid Park, but Tropicana, yeah, or I've had that juice before, so that's a good one. It's
Yeah,
a Florida one, right? That one. There you are.
right. That's right. That's right.
You-
But he took over the part that was overseas. So we were headquartered in New York and Paris.
Paris, huh? Oh, okay. Like France, right?
Spent a lot of time in Paris and living out of a hotel there. Spent months, but it was a great deal. We had our own jet, and then when we weren't flying our jet, we got to fly the Concorde a lot, which took you to Paris in 3.5 hours. And then we had my office overlooked Central Park in New York, so it was a pretty heady lifestyle.
Man, yeah, that's Manila to Wall Street. Was that really like a Wall Street job, you say, or was it more just like a
Well, it was a Wall Street job in the sense that we did what they call leverage buyouts,
right?
and we were backed by a Wall Street firm, and we issued like debt and did public offerings, and he tried to take the company public on the New York Stock Exchange to become the first black controlled company um, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We failed because of a
Hmm.
negative article that came out in a publication called Barron's, because back then the media had a lot of power. And then he also became the first black man or black person to live on Fifth Avenue,
Fifth
believe it or
Avenue.
not. Yeah, because they didn't allow black people to live on Fifth Avenue back then in
That's
the
messed up. Yeah.
1990s, 1980s. And he used to tell me the only black people there came in through the servants' entrance. So he wanted to be the big first black person. And we bought the apartment of John DeLorean. I don't know if you've seen the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, yeah, the car. Yeah, the car.
Car, yeah, but he was washed up by the time we met him. He had just gotten off of he almost got convicted for selling cocaine because he wanted to raise money for his company,
Oh,
but
wow.
he got off. Yeah, he got off. Jury decided it was entrapment, but by the time we met him, he was selling his Manhattan apartment. It was big, 2 stories on Fifth Avenue. Neighbors were David Rockefeller, Lawrence Rockefeller, and the sister of Jackie Kennedy were
Wow, that's
Reg's
quite a
neighbors. So
quite
yeah,
quite
but he died
quite.
after a month after he moved in.
Yeah, yeah, I saw he had an early death. I was gonna say like
50.
how many years did you spend with him? Or work with him?
6 years from 1987 to 1993. And then I continued to work with the company when his brother took over. Uh, he fired me. Then Loida took over and rehired me. And so I stayed with him till 1999 when she wound up selling the assets of the company.
Wow, that's an immigrant's dream, Butch. I mean, you come from the Philippines. I'm Filipino. If you couldn't tell, I hope it.
Yeah, but you're from Daly City, man.
I was gonna ask you though. So you came from Manila to there, and it's quite of a rise to like the top, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
was that overwhelming for you, or was that like something you were ready for, or you just gave it all your all? And,
Well, I think, and that's what I want to tell people that are listening. I think everybody's going to get a shot. That's the great thing about America. You're going to get your chance, your big break, and the
Mhm.
key is that you have to be ready for it when it shows up. And it could be very different. I know somebody who was working in the entertainment industry wasn't doing too much, and then one day somebody approached him about selling jet planes, and he took the job. Now he's got his own house in Charleston, South Carolina. He's doing
Yeah.
pretty well. So I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but you just have to be ready for your break when it shows up.
No, I agree. I wrote a little bit about my story in the book, and how I got breaks, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's like you can try all you want to get a job, and they don't get it, or you don't
yeah,
get it, right? But it's like
yeah.
that's not meant for you, because like me writing this book was like a dream of mine, and I have an English degree there too, and I was like, am I ever going to use this thing? So that's kind of where this came around, and just
You,
having a company now and talking to people like you and all that is it's a great thing. I mean,
it leads to a lot of opportunities for you, right? I mean, you got to use that to open doors.
mhm. Did you, when you published your book, was it just to get out of your head like all these emotions and feelings you had, or was it to have a business angle and get back into work? Because you could be retired too, right?
Well, I'm still have my day job, but it was to get. something off of my mind that I wanted to write about Reg Lewis. He was such a larger than life character,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to do it in fiction, but then I decided to do nonfiction,
Mm-hmm.
and took a little risk there. But I've been wanting to write this book for a long time, and it's ironically it's only after my wife walked out, and so it's like God said, you know what, you're gonna finally be able to write that book, but guess what? You're gonna have to give up your marriage. So
Oh no,
that was the trade-off. But I tell that story in the book.
that's cool. How for people listening, how big is or how many pages is the memoir, right?
It's short, which is
Oh,
which is good. I was surprised, man. This is thin. It's about the length of The Great Gatsby, which is a short book, and it's only about
Scott's Fitzgerald,
184
right?
pages. 184 pages.
Was it F. Scott Fitzgerald or no? It was somebody else who wrote that book.
Yeah, it was F. Scott Fitzgerald, and to me, Reginald Lewis was like my Gatsby. You know,
Wow,
he was always. They had this line in the book of Gatsby. He's always reaching for that green light at the end of the dock.
the Green
You
Orb,
know,
huh?
just always
Yeah.
reaching for that green light, man.
Did you like the movie? Well, there's multiple movies, right? So did you like the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, or did you like the book more?
No, I like the one with Robert Redford.
Yeah,
If you
I saw.
catch it on YouTube, you should watch it because it had Mia Farrow and a guy named Sam Waterston. He was playing my character. I was like the Nick Carraway to Reg Lewis's
Wow,
Gatsby.
man.
That's the way
Wow,
I see it. So that's the way I put it in the book. Is that I was there to observe and I was part of it, but I was detailing the adventures of a larger than life character.
man. Yeah, he must have known Trump. You think, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I think Trump probably remembers him because he was the only black person at the time who had broken the barriers, and he joined this exclusive club. They had something called the Predators Ball once a year in L.A., which all big takeover guys would meet and plan their takeovers from there in Beverly
Man,
Hills. And a lot of big companies got taken over. RJR Nabisco, Beatrice, TWA. They got taken over by people who borrowed money, and some of them had never been heard of before. So it was a strange time.
so your job with them was more like public relations head, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was there. I was his PR guy, and I plotted like when he sold his first company. That's the story I mentioned about meeting him in the lobby of the New York Times. I got a good story for him there, and then he hired me after that, and then I helped plan the announcement for the $1 billion takeover of Beatrice, and that made him a star back then.
Wow. Um, how would you say?
Then we failed in the public offering. I guess that was also my fault, but you know,
I mean, it's cool because I heard little bit of like Black Wall Street and all that.
yeah, yeah.
That was down in the South, right?
Tulsa, Tulsa,
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
and then a little bit of race
Yeah,
tension.
they burned it to the ground.
Yeah, yeah. What else was I gonna ask you?
Well, you know, one thing he did teach me is a little bit of what it meant to be black in America. Because when I first came here, Dan,
Mhm.
he told me I had this candy cane vision of the United States coming from Manila, and that I was I'd watched these old movies and in Manila, and that's what I thought America was. And he said that's not. It wasn't Jimmy Stewart or Gregory Peck who were my heroes when I was growing up. He said the real America is when you're African American. No matter how rich you are, you have to be careful when a cop pulls you over.
What? Yeah, you're right. What would you say? Well, living in New York was like for you, like in that time, like the '80s, right? Like that was a little bit or '90s.
Yeah, man. I mean, I sold my apartment back then. You couldn't sell anything back then because things were so bad. My wife got mugged, and I got surrounded in a subway car. Luckily,
Oh no.
door opened before anything happened. They were looking at my watch, and then a cop was there, so that saved me. And then, I mean, New York was people were desperate to get out back then in
Wow.
the '80s and the '90s, but we were very close to Mayor Dinkins, and I detailed that in my in my book when Reg's house got burned. Well, he it burned down in the Hamptons in
Oh
the middle of
man,
the night, and I think it was the mayor's trying to help us out. But yeah, New York was a great place. That's where I met my wife. That's where my son was born, and that's where I made my first big money. But it was a very different time from the way it is today. Now it's like Disneyland, you know.
I was over there like in 2023. I want to go back, but it's like a zoo, or not a zoo, but maybe more like
Yeah, right.
a zoo, right?
So it's full of very aggressive people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in San Francisco, or I grew up here, so it's like I was like not too blown away by like Times Square, or like the rats, right? There's rats and stuff, but
Oh
uh,
yeah, now after COVID, they're out on the street now. At least the last time I saw them, they're
oh
not. They used to be just in the subways.
yeah. How was that like adjusting to like lifestyle over there from I don't know like Florida or like even Manila, like that's the epicenter of like business, right? Like so.
Yeah, well, it's a big jump for me. I mean, big change for me. But I will say they're pretty open to an immigrant. I mean, I worked with a lot of PR firms back then, and they gave me a chance, you know. But I was told then, at the time, at one of the PR firms, that they would not assign me to do PR for certain companies, certain
Really?
investment banks and law firms, because they were what we called white shoe firms.
What's that?
They didn't deal with minorities.
Oh yeah,
They wouldn't want a Filipino American handling their PR.
do
You
you
know.
in your experience, Butch, do you experience like have you seen a lot of Filipinos in the PR industry? Have you seen them have success outside of a handful or?
Now there are more. There are more, and a lot of them are Filipina, uh,
Yeah.
but there are more of them. But back in those days, I didn't see any.
Wow. Yeah. Did you feel like you fit in, or like were you like?
Well, they kid around. I was a token Asian guy, you know, but the yeah, no, I mean the key for me was that I got a break. I showed them I could do the job, and I brought in a big account for them,
Mm-hmm.
and I could write, which is a
Mm-hmm.
talent they admired. I wrote a lot of speeches and press releases. I worked with the Jamaican Prime Minister and with a couple CEOs over here. So they could rely on me for that. And I was good at media relations. I got all these articles placed in the Wall Street Journals and Forbes, and that was a valuable talent back then.
Yeah, yeah, PR. So let's dive. Okay, we'll dive into more of the book too. But I guess just as a PR question that you'd have a good take on is how important is PR, right? Because some people say there's marketing, and then there's branding, and then PR might be like for the book, right? We were on Tatler Asia. I think Earl got his.
Right. It's a good
Uh,
one.
it helps, right? But is it just blowing smoke out, or is it more like
Well, the media used to be much more important then. I mean, they were the gatekeepers, and if you could get into certain publications, you were made. You know, a Tatler was really big, but now they've all gone, you know, a different world. And but I mean, certain publications like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, still carry a lot of clout, but a lot of the others just don't have it, you know. And but they're still useful because you can quote from them, and they get you some exposure, so they're still useful, but they're not as useful as not as powerful as they were during my time.
yeah, yeah. New York though, huh? Like you put a billboard up in Times Square or something? Like that wasn't digital back then, was it?
No, there's no cell phones, man. Guess I was lucky to get a photo in my book. You know, I had a hard time looking for photos because nobody was taking any photographs back then, and I missed
Man,
a lot of moments. But completely different. My boss did have a cell phone, which was big and clunky. And when he died in 1993, at the age of 50, two other CEOs died around the same time. And there was this story going around the press saying that people were dying, CEOs were dying because of exposure to cell phones. And that's
oh
why he
my,
had a brain tumor and all that. We could never get to the bottom of it, though.
wow, yeah, like that's unbelievable. I mean,
Well, kind of worked for the phone company too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Uh, okay, so I guess like to talk a bit about the book and then in more depth, why do you think people should read it, and what would you want them to take away from it?
Well, I think it's a short read. It's a quick read. I think it's very readable, and for anybody that has a dream, I think it's a good read because it shows you that the American dream is still alive and well.
Yeah,
And as Reg's mantra was, keep going no matter what. So you can't race or racism stop you. You can't let obstacles stop you. If you get knocked down, you've got to get back up again, and that's what he kept saying, keep going no matter what. So that was important. And then at the end of the whole thing, I say in the book, I found that ordinary people living ordinary lives who can go home at the end of the day, kick back and watch a ball game, are much happier than the rich and famous or the guys, people on social media all the time.
yeah,
Uh, you
yeah.
have a much happier life and a better existence than somebody who's always in social media or famous.
I uh, I had this conversation a couple days ago with another CEO of a large, well, not of a startup, but they're in Germany, and I was asking him like the impact of phones on kids, and his product is to try to take away kids from the screen and put them into like real world situations.
Uh huh.
Um, and I see like the detriment of technology, but as somebody who wrote a book called Startup Mindsets, you find yourself like swimming upstream when you try to argue that. For you, like when you saw the rise of phone use, or just I mean digital media,
Yeah.
VR,
Yeah.
did that alter your career at all? I mean, I guess like it changed the world in a lot of ways, but how do you
Oh
feel
yeah.
about it?
Well, look, it a lot of industries died and a lot of new ones were born. My other hat that I wear is we mentor and we invest in startups. So I'm right in that space, but I've seen industries die, and which used to be big. I mean, you name it, newspapers, movie theaters, and so on. Um, I grew up at the time. I'm that old where we used to have carbon paper to make
Carbon.
copies. And I grew up. I took typing lessons,
Yeah.
and it was a big deal. And faxes were a big deal when they came out, and
Uh-huh.
and I mean, I just remember I grew up with black and white TV, which was a big deal then, and I watched these old shows, and getting a color TV was like a miracle. And nowadays, you guys have net streaming, all these options to watch movies. But back then, going to a movie with my dad was a nice experience, and he gave me that love, and I think I gave that love to my son, who's now in Hollywood, works with a guy named Will Gluck, a director there. He has a couple of big movies, but I can't remember their names. But they're with Sony. So I mean, I got
What
that love
genre
of
of movie?
movies got passed on.
Is it like comedy, or is it like thriller? Like,
Will Gluck directed all these movies. But I know he's working on one right now, but I couldn't tell you what it is. But
yeah,
yeah,
man.
my son's working with him.
Well, that's awesome. Um, what I was gonna say, I guess to jump into like that world a little bit more, like how did your, I guess, relatives from Manila or the Philippines feel about your career when they saw a little bit of like success, and how was that experience? Because I think it's like you have family in a different world, and you're
Yeah,
making money in a different country, and you miss them, I guess, a little bit, right? But it's like you can't leave because you have to make the money
yeah, because I was
over.
making a lot more money than if I'd stayed over there. But my father was very proud of me. I mean, my ex-wife used to say that he adored me because he used to tell me I was living the life that he dreamed of
Wow.
in New York doing PR. And he's a big Yankees fan, so I took him I at his suggestion, I got the New York Daily News to take us to a Yankees game, his very first ball game in person, and
The old Yankees.
they treated us, and he got to go into the dugout, and their big star then was Dave Winfield, and he got to say hello to him and swing a bat with him, and it was like, and then they did a back page story on him, and he was king of New York for a day, so I was really happy I could do that for my father.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, the Bronx, huh? The Bronx.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right, man. I'm still a Yankees fan, and so's my son. And
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm a Giants fan, but you can tell with
well,
these bobbleheads.
that's your problem. But you've been winning a lot more lately.
You watch baseball quite often, or are you in
Well, I still love it. I mean, last night I watched the Knicks.
yeah, New
Tough
York, huh?
mind,
Yeah.
so just the last 12 seconds, unfortunately. But I mean, but yeah, I still keep up with sports. But I still have a love for some games. I watched Moneyball again last night. Kept me
I
up
saw
late.
that on TV too. Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been the same channel or something. But Brad Pitt, that's a good movie about the Oakland A's, and I mean, it's just a fun game, and it's not real complicated. So coming from another country, it was easy for me to. My father and I used to listen to the World Series on shortwave radio
Oh
from
wow,
Manila.
that's
That's the only way we could watch the World Series
were you
or
there?
listen. We had no TV. We had to listen to it.
Were you there for the Thrilla in Manila?
I was there, but I was not in the stadium. I didn't get
The
a ticket. I
Muhammad
was just I
Ali.
was just still in school.
Oh, cool, cool. I mean, I know that was one big event. I wanted when I was in Manila, I wanted to see like some historical places. I just was running this book thing and hanging out with friends. So,
You
but
should. You should. My father was in World War II. He was captured at Bataan
mhm.
by the Japanese. Spent about a year and a half in a prisoner of war camp. He did the Death March. A lot of
Bataan.
people died. Yeah, they died. It's they after they surrendered in Bataan, the Japanese marched a lot of Filipinos and Americans, and they didn't have any water, or if they fell down, they were bayoneted. I mean, there's like 100,000 people that they killed in Manila during the battle there. They killed everybody they could. My mother told me stories of her friends being lined up. They told to gather in convents or in schools, and they lined them up for a roll call, and they thought it was just an ordinary roll call, but then they started bayoneting them.
That's insane. Yeah, my Lola was a little bit in World War II. He was they were shooting guns at the house, and
Yeah.
he became a soldier eventually. So R.I.P. to he wrote that letter for me back there. Wait,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So,
great. That's
you know,
great that you still have it.
yeah, man, you just can't. I, can't, growing up in America, it's like you get to experience what it's like, but it's like you had a whole life like all the way across the world. So I don't forget about that stuff.
Yeah, but you're lucky, really, Dan. I mean, you've had a lot of. I mean, people growing up here have are kind of lucky compared to other.
Spoiled brats,
You
Deepa.
haven't known. Well, you haven't really known war here or all that. And previous generation before me, they had to go through war, and they were under Japanese occupation about 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I got a cool question for you, Butch. Going through all those life experiences, do you think like it prepared you when you're working that intense job under Reggie and even Loida, like to go through? Because I know like it sounds like to the outsider that it's the best job, and you know what I'm saying. Like you have like all what you want, but at the end of the day, there's like high levels of stress, and if you don't perform,
Yeah,
it's like a lot of angry people at you, right?
that's right. I was getting yelled at every day, and if you called him Reggie, he'd be yelling at you. He preferred to be called Reg or Mr. Lewis, and the he was like, I mean, he was a star, and he was in a way he was my mentor. But man, he was yelling at me every day. He was yelling at everybody in the office, calling people names, and so it was a high stress environment. There was a lot of stress on him because he was leading us in this world of financial guys, and some of them are pretty tough, and to survive, he had to be tough. So respected him for it, but man, a lot of people fell by the wayside because they could not take it.
What kept you in that environment? Like, was it the love of the job, or was it you just had that grit? Or some people nowadays, if that happens, you know what I mean. Like the tech industry is super soft, right? So they'll like walk out or like they'll
Oh
cry.
yeah, they won't stay. They'd be telling them to go back to work. They'll leave.
You couldn't work from home back then, right?
Yeah, you kidding? We never heard of that. I mean, that's something. Zoom. I mean, who would have thought? But but it's so different even from COVID. But yeah, no, back then, I was it was the money. I mean, the money was important. I was earning a lot of money, and but I you kind of lose your confidence, to be honest. I talk about that in the book. You keep getting called names every day, and
Hmm.
it brings you down, man. And so there's a lot of stress. And at the end there, I was telling my wife, I wasn't sure I could go on because I was
Would
with him a
you,
lot. I was with him in Paris, in San Moritz, all these nice places, and the Riviera, south of France,
the private jet, was it worth it?
private jet. Um, I don't know, may have shaved a few years off my life, and I probably look a lot younger now if I hadn't worked
A lot,
there.
a lot of Filipinos, they find the fountain of youth. I noticed. Like, I'm like, you ain't that old, are you? But I'm 29, so it's like,
Well,
I,
I don't say this to my dates, but yeah, I'm 71. But that's a conversation killer right there.
Butch, you're the Filipino Hugh Hefner, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. I thank you. I wish that were true, and then I'd certainly have a few people with me here.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. Yeah. So that's quite intense. Like, so the company Beatrice had transitioned after he passed away to Loida, right? Who was his wife? Who? Yeah. What was it like working for her? Because I know she did a book launch at the same building, a studio that I did one. Right? So.
She it was his brother who took over first, Gene Fugit. Then he tried to buy the Baltimore Orioles, and that didn't work out too well. And the shareholders made a motion. Then Loida came in, she took over, and she brought me back in, and she was like breath of fresh air because all the tension vanished, and she was much more of a nurturer. Reg was like a quarterback, man. He said they were going in this direction, and everybody just followed. And we're taking that hill, and nobody's staying behind or hiding. But Loida was like, every time I went into her office, I left feeling happy or better because it's like she spread a lot of love. I mean, and I would write speeches, and her speeches were very different from Red. She'd always have a quotation from the Bible, from Isaiah or something in there. So she'd start meetings with a prayer, and the executives that I worked with just could not understand that, and they were rolling their eyes and said, "What is this?" so, so she brought a
Man,
very different style.
would you find yourself at St. Patrick's Cathedral on Fifth Avenue a lot? Just if that's your church you go to
Well,
out there.
no, no, she didn't make us do that. That'd be
Oh, okay,
they,
okay.
they would have all revolted back there, but no, no. I mean, if you went there, you did it on your own. But she prayed a lot. But she's a very religious person. She believes deeply in her faith, and that got her through a lot of tough times, the death of her husband, and a lot of
Mhm.
other things. And yeah, I mean, that's one thing I kind of learned is that you've got to have something to hang on to, Dan, for the
Right.
tough times, and you got to have that because. And I try to tell my son that. I don't know if he listens to me, but it's not when you're young. You think it'll go on forever, but there's going to be bumps in your life, and you've got to have some kind of anchor.
Would you say your anchor was like your faith, or what would you say it would have been at those difficult moments, right?
Well, family's important. My wife was important at the time, and my folks were important. You grew up with these values, right? And they stay with you no matter what. But yeah, I mean, going to church or saying a
Yeah.
prayer, I mean, gives you a sense of peace, and it does to this day. That's why this Pope is going to be important up here. But it does give you a sense of calm, and if when you're real troubled, I tell my son that's a good place to just
Yeah,
take a
right.
quiet moment.
No, that's awesome. What else can we discuss? Which,
Well, it's maybe the immigrant experience or his house getting burned down. I mean, or you know, our
uh, I think the immigrant experience is, we'll just, that was the first one. So, um, I guess if there's anybody listening, if they have questions, just drop them in the list. But the immigrant experience, right? So you said that was your first time coming to the U.S., like going to Florida or University of Florida to study.
Yeah, I'd only been abroad once before to Hong Kong, which was then a British colony.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah, and then I took this long trip to the States. That was it. Oh, I do want to mention my book signings.
Oh, you're right. What do you know like where they are and like the days of or the nights or the times?
Yeah, the nights are the days are May 14 at Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue and 45th Street in New York. I really need people show up for
If I
that
fly
one.
out there, what if I flew
12
out
to
there?
2 o'clock. 12 to 2 o'clock. So please feel free to fly in, Dan, and
Okay.
get all your friends in there. It's Bay
Oh
Area
man,
to come in too. But a guy is flying in from the Ivory Coast,
where's
believe it
that?
or not. Yeah, he's coming in, and then somebody else is coming in from Boston, and I did come in from Manila. So people are
You
flying in
flew,
from all
you
over.
flew from Manila yesterday or tonight?
No, a couple days ago, flew through LA and Vegas first, and flew in last night to New York. But yeah,
Wow.
and so I've got that New York signing. Then I've got a couple others, which are by invitation, and then I go to Washington on May 19 at the Willard Hotel, which is an old famous one. I was around when Abraham Lincoln was there, and that's a nice one. That's at 5 to 7 p.m. May 19 at the Willard Hotel in Washington. Then I go to Philadelphia on May 21 at the Philadelphia Public Library. That's at 6:30.
Who did you publish your book with? Which was it? Like a major publisher, or was it independent, or?
It's an independent Heliotrope Books. It's a small indie publisher in New York, and so they. I was grateful they said do the book, and but you, as you know, you do a lot of the heavy lifting yourself, man, and it's not like the old days when they do all the stuff. I mean, the author really has to sell the book, and I was telling Earl this too.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. We bust our butt, and then once you have it out there, it's like, oh yeah, we gotta get
You got to keep
after.
going on it. You can't. You got to keep selling. You got to keep promoting.
Um, how do you compare and contrast like this job as like a book author now compared to like your old work, right? Like it's you're not getting yelled at anymore, right?
Well, I'm still doing the other stuff. I'm just taking a break for this book tour, but I mean, this is sort of fun because you're talking about yourself and your book. I mean, it's a little bit of an ego trip to have this, and but then last night I was kind of overwhelmed. I said, "What did I do this for?" I mean, I got all these people lined up to come here, and why did I do this? I mean, it felt like I was having second thoughts about it, but it's the story of my life, and I wanted to get it out there. And as I say, in the book, if nothing else, I wanted my son to know how we lived, what it was all about, and what
Wow.
happened. I talk about our marriage and our divorce too, so that's in there. It's not a big part of it. That got edited out, but the
Uh-huh.
I wanted him to know what it was all about.
Yeah, yeah. I guess like I have a cousin who shout out to my cousin Jim Narvios. He has a song. It's called "Story of My Life," and he actually lived in Brooklyn as a kid, but he was born in Dallas, and then he lived in Cebu, which is where we're from, a little bit for his career. Do you
Nice.
find that like do you find like living in all these different geographies like that there's a hidden benefit that people don't know about?
Yeah, I think it opens you up to a whole lot of new experiences. I found there's a real difference between people that never leave where they were born
Right.
and people that actually go forth and take a chance and go someplace else. Just opens
Mhm.
you up, and you're much more. You have a different point of view. I'd be a different person, Dan, if I was like some of my friends and just went to college and which I did, and then went to a job the way everybody else was supposed to,
Right.
and never left. I'd have a wife and a few
Uh-huh.
kids, but I wouldn't be the person. Just coming to, I have to be honest, coming to the United States did change me, and it gave me a lot of confidence. It made me very different. I used to be a nerd. I'm still a nerd, but but listen to a lot of history podcasts. But I'm better for it, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
uh, it's changed me for the better.
Yeah, I got this friend of mine, Nikki. She went to like 50 countries. So, have you been to over
So
50? Or
that's a lot, man.
yeah, I know. I was like, I couldn't
Some
believe
of
that.
those countries I've been to, and I can tell you, you're better off in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I know, bro. If you come out here, we'll hang out. But what I was gonna say is, what was it like when you went to Europe, right? Like, I think like that's a big jump from Philippines to even we know we're discussing like how you came from Manila to Wall Street, but like what was like Manila to wherever Paris you were
Paris.
talking about you were working at? Like, was that hard for you to adjust? They speak different languages there, so I'm guessing it was.
Well, but I did learn French. I still speak some of it to this day, enough to get around. And
You speak French?
yeah, I studied a little bit at Alliance Française in New York. Then I also I had a live-in French girlfriend before I met my wife. I met her in San Francisco at
You
a
met a
disco
French
over
girl?
there. Yeah. And she's French, and we lived in there. And then we drove across the country to New York. She went to New York for me with me, and it
Man,
didn't work out in the end. And she passed away at a young age. And I recently went to visit her friends in Paris. But I loved I loved Paris, but it was like a prison for us, man, because we were working all the time. We were there were no holidays. There were no
this was the 80s
French
or the 90s?
holidays. There were no American holidays. We were working Thanksgiving over there.
You were working Saturday and Sunday, right?
Well, that sounds like my job now with my current boss, but because in Asia they make you come in on Sunday sometimes. But I'll tell you. But the no, with Reg, just that when you were in Paris with him, he knew your family wasn't there. So, it was okay to have you. We could all have dinner together, stay late at work, and
Where,
that's why a lot of the guys I worked with were really desperate to get out by the weekend, get out of the
yeah,
city, because even though
where
it
was
was a beautiful place, and I recognized back then, and I recognize it now that this I was lucky to have that experience, but a lot of people just wanted to get home to their wives.
I know in
I
France
never
they
had children. I never had children till after he died.
oh
Just never had
man,
the time.
Filipinos they got more than one kid. They love
Well,
each other. Right?
I only have one
I'm an only
kid.
child.
I only have one kid, and he that I know of, and then and then he was only born after Reg died.
Oh man, so what year was that? Have been like 95?
96. So it's like 3 years after Reg passed away. So it was harder for us because I was older, and
Oh
I didn't
man,
realize it back then. And then my wife had a couple of miscarriages, so we never had another kid. And my son, always
sorry
used
to
to
hear
say
that.
he's an only child.
I'm an only child too, man. I gotta meet up with this dude.
Oh, well, you must be spoiled then.
No, we grew up in a one bedroom and we didn't have a car, so
Well, yeah, but you got all the attention and the love. You know what
I
I
know
mean?
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
You didn't have to fight for it.
Well, I do one time sometimes wish I had.
Okay, okay.
Maybe that wasn't the right thing to wish for.
Well, yeah, that's why you have a podcast.
Exactly, exactly.
Why do you want to feel the love?
No, you got to. That's why I have a book.
Oh, that's why you have a book. That's why. That's why. You got to
Wait,
bring
so
it with you wherever you go.
Butch, how did you get your nickname? One of my friends was asking. Does everyone call you Butch, or Rene was what?
Yeah, somebody told me I'd never get elected president of the United States with a name like Butch. But but no, my parents gave me that name as a nickname. They got it, believe it or not, from a Saturday Evening Post cartoon. It was a big magazine back then about a burglar, and
Really?
so not many parents name their kids after burglars. But my parents must have thought it was funny. It was a funny cartoon about an overweight burglar called Butch.
Oh
You should probably
man.
Google it, and that's who I was named after. I wasn't named after some famous figure or somebody that you admire. I was named after a cartoon character. So,
Wow, wow.
so,
Oh, man.
But it's a nickname. But I mean, I use it in the book. But somebody told me Rene is a much nicer name.
Yeah, 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 it is. Or I mean, no,
I'll
Butch is
consider
cool.
changing.
Um, uh, what else was I gonna ask you? I guess like throughout your career, you've had such a illustrious career. Like, do you have like a favorite job or like a favorite memory that you always are like that was the prime or
Well, I hate to say it was my prime. It was all downhill after that, right? But those those um, those transcontinental trips on the Concorde and I saw the aurora borealis one time when we were crossing the Atlantic.
and you fit
And,
this whole job into like you squeeze 6 years of your life out of this?
well, those were important years, and then I still worked with Beatrice after that. It just wasn't as hectic. But we sold the jet, and we cut costs after that. But the 6 years were very intense. That's why I thought it was worth writing the book on. And I wrote about life. I wrote about death, and
Wow.
about my losing my marriage and all that. So there's a lot in it. And but what I'm doing now is important. I'm no longer taking over companies and selling their assets or something, or letting people go. I mean, what I'm doing is I'm become a humanitarian in the sense that I work with disasters. I help private companies. We band together. You'd be proud of it. There's one area where the Philippines is ahead, and that's private sector getting involved in disasters before, during, and after, helping communities prepare for them, and then helping them when it happens, and then helping them recover when it's done. We've got a center in Clark. That's 2 hours outside of Manila. It's the only one of its kind at the time. It's the only one of its kind run by the private sector, and we can track any storm in the world, track any earthquake, volcanic eruption. We track the COVID-19 pandemic from there. But it's worth visiting if you get a chance.
Yeah, yeah. I make a note of it.
And I do
You said
startups. I do startups. That's the other thing. I run Idea Space and another, which is the private, it's just the startup accelerator for the PLDT Metro Pacific groups. I work for the CEO Manny Pangilinan, who's a big shot over in the Philippines and
right,
Asia. And
right.
then I we invest in them, but I also run a public-private sector partnership called QBO Innovation
Mhm.
Hub. You can Google it, and
I've
or we call it Kubo.
met some
Yeah,
people there. Do you know
a
Owen?
lot. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people. It's a big startup community. It's QBO and innovation, and it's a partnership with the government. So it's a great idea, and we a lot of startups have come through there.
Yeah,
But
man.
I run that. I run that. I'm the only old guy there.
Okay, okay. I got MVP. Well, Earl did. He got MVP to write an endorsement for the book I
Yeah.
wrote.
Well,
Um,
that was Earl's idea. Earl started Idea Space. I mean, he's the reason. He's the one we have to blame for everything that's going on over there. But yeah, he started Idea Space. He also had the idea for this QBO Innovation Hub, and I was the one who carried it out. But he's the one who came up with the idea. So
how did you meet
he's
Earl?
Godfather over there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you just meet Earl like somewhere in Manila or something, or you were in New York or?
Well, I knew of him when I came in, and I think I met him quite a few times along the way because we're still in touch with each other. I say, so asking, what the heck were you thinking of when you started this? But yeah, we was like Obi-Wan Kenobi. We ask him for guidance, and we ask him for words of wisdom on startups.
Man, yeah. I know, but you probably want to enjoy New York, so I'll just keep it like next 5 to 10 minutes, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine because I'm dying to take a look at the CNN here and find out if we have a Filipino pope or not.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. That whole a lot of things are changing in the world when that happens, right? Like, do you think that really changes?
I think
You
it'll be
know,
a big change for the Philippines and for the world I mean, whoever it is, I don't want to push it one way or too much or the other,
you
but
again like this?
I do know one of the candidates, and he's a distant cousin of mine. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You got to invite me there if you're over there. I'm just joking,
Oh
but
yeah, man. Oh, well, I certainly will, Dan. I mean, your next podcast will be from Rome, buddy.
oh shit.
You'll be on the outside, but that's okay.
You know what? Why? I mean, you're the PR person. I'll take your advice.
Hey, that will boost ratings. Let me tell you. And you know, if we get a Filipino Pope, and then you put on anything about him, and that'll push your numbers way up because there's so much interest in him, or whoever it is. You
uh-huh.
know, whoever it is, there'll be a lot of interest in him.
Would you say that you like the pizza over there in Rome more, or would you like the New York pizza more?
Well, I thought the New York. I think I like the New York pizza.
Right, right, right. You can't go wrong with a Joe's or a Luigi's or
Yeah.
something. Ray's.
Yeah, but even anything on the corners, it's just that man, it's gotten so much more expensive here.
Oh yeah, man. So do you like San Francisco more, or do you like New York more?
Well, I used I lived in San Francisco for 2 years, and back then it was a different city. It's you
You're
could
right.
really walk around. Now it's just go go go, and city's changed a little bit.
You got to try
Uh,
the driverless car.
well, yeah, I've seen those are strange, but I've seen them. And then but you used to be able to ride horsebacks on the beaches outside of the city. I mean, I did that with
Oh,
my French girlfriend. You could ride horses, rent them out there, and ride them. I think the insurance was too high, so they must have killed the horses or something. I don't know. You can't do it anymore.
became too liberal is what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and man, people taking stuff from
Cars.
supermarket. I mean, a
Yeah.
reporter from the New York Times went to San Francisco, and he said, "I'm new here, but is paying optional?" Because everybody else he was at the counter, and everybody else was just grabbing stuff.
That's what I gotta say. Or it's so high tech that they already charged you when you went up.
Yeah, it's high tech. I don't even understand it. I mean, somebody has to
Oh
help me
man.
through it because I'd rather have a human being and just tell me how much it costs and I'll pay for
So
it.
so Butch, do you reside in like BGC now, or like where would you call home?
Yeah, I reside in BGC. I got separated, and so we no longer together at our apartment or house there. So since then I've got a bachelor pad there, and but I'm back and forth. I'm spending more time over here now, and
Do
because my
you,
only son is over here, so I might be spending more time in the States.
do you have a preference, right? Like some people have two homes, so it's like, how do you handle, you know?
Well, I miss what I used to have. I used to have a country home in Woodstock, New York. That's where they had the big music festival, and I miss that. I miss upstate New York. It's just that the winters there are really bad, man. Three
Harsh
three
on the
months of the
Filipino, huh?
yeah, the water freezes, and sometimes you're isolated because the roads are snowed in, and the winters are just rough. But the rest of the year is quite beautiful. But you know, I don't know if I want to do that again. But yeah, upstate New York was nice, and San Francisco is always beautiful,
You're
always
right. You're right.
beautiful.
You're right.
At Golden Gate Park, and you got the bay, and your sports teams are pretty good. So you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you a big avid sports fan, would you say?
yeah. Not I'm not super huge, but I like
You can't watch in the
name it
Philippines.
basketball, what baseball, tennis. I like tennis.
You're able to watch in the Philippines, like in the
Yeah,
different.
with the apps, there's all sorts of. I mean, you used to be actually used to be able to watch more because when I was growing up, American culture was much more dominant, and everybody
Oh,
spoke
wow.
English there. All the newscasts were in English, the papers, and I know what's going on a little bit here, but I know what they're trying to get back to because back when I was growing up, everything was made in America.
Oh, you're
The
right. Right.
TVs, they were called Zenith and fridges. We didn't call them fridges. We called them Frigidaire, which is the American brand. And then we didn't call them toothpaste. We just called them Colgate.
You didn't call it AC, you called it aircon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was just the brand. It was the only brand in town at the time, and it was all made in the USA. So I
Man,
kind of
man.
remember that.
Let's see. So Idea Space, you worked there for like half a decade, I guess, or more than a decade, or
Yeah, I took it over. I mean, Earl left it, and then we had a few people in charge of it. I took it over. I started Kubo first. That was the job my boss gave me, was start Kubo Innovation Hub, QBO
Mm.
Innovation Hub, and I did that first, and from there I jumped to Idea Space, and I ran both things. So
What
QBO, I started that 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. So that was a big success. And then I moved to Idea Space, and yeah. Hey, we're looking for investors, so shout out to all your
is
investor
that?
friends in the Bay
Limited
Area.
partners, or is that like investors, as in like angel investors? Or?
Well, yeah, people that want to invest in startups in the Philippines, or want to partner up with Idea Space or Kubo, that'd be great. And we can showcase them. At some point, we can showcase them on their podcast. They can do like 5 minute pitches for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd
And
be fun.
I think people over here will be interested. Dan,
You're right.
they'll
You're
be
right.
interested.
What is it like
Hey,
working
I
back?
gotta go soon because the Pope's coming out.
Oh shoot. Okay, okay. Last question. I'll talk to you. I'll get your phone number. We'll get pizza or do Filipino food in
Okay,
New York.
here he is.
Oh,
Oh, I don't know. Okay, who it is, but you better get to a TV set, man. Okay,
um.
let me find out who it is.
Okay. Catch you later, Butch.
Okay, thanks for having me, Dan. Take care.
Yeah, yeah. Take care. See you later. Later.
Okay, bye.